Hi, everybody.
Oh, hi, Kim.
You made it, Bar.
Hi.
Yes, it was. I needed to update my Zoom software, and my antivirus was not allowing me to.
Oh,
And I kept bumping into it. So I finally Googled it and did it. And I've been holding my breath, and it obviously worked.
here you are.
Yes,
Google is your best friend when you run into problems.
it can
It
be.
is.
Yes, yes.
Yeah,
Our show actually starts this weekend. The opening is on Friday.
I
I saw
saw
the ad
the
for it
Yeah.
promo.
today.
Yeah.
I'm gonna
So
try and get there.
when is everyone going to be there? Are you going to take turns?
We take turns, but the opening's Friday night, this Friday night.
Yeah, I won't be able to make it, unfortunately, on,
No.
on the
Yeah,
opening
it's
night.
kind of long weekend. I know it's not
Yeah.
the best, but
Where
anyways,
will it be?
pardon?
Where will it be?
I'll send the invitation out. It's at Bronte, in Bronte at Southern House. In
I
like
want to go see that gallery.
it's a little room.
Is
It's
that where I
nice.
went to see you guys back whenever
Yes.
that was?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Same place.
This is a
Yeah.
regular occurrence, the
It's an
figuratively
annual
speaking.
event.
Yeah, so,
Yeah.
and at that location. So, and this
Yeah.
time of year should be beautiful, the garden and everything.
Hmm.
Yeah, I hope there's parking on the weekend. It's the long weekend.
Right, right, right.
Anyways, they have reserved one row in that parking lot for people
That's
going
good.
to the gallery. So
Is that
um,
in Port Credit or
no,
Oakville
Bronte.
or Bronte?
Bronte. Yeah. I'll
Okay.
send the invitation again to you guys and the address is on it.
Yeah.
Debbie can't join us today because she's in transit from Dublin. I
Oh,
know
is
we
she?
feel badly for her that she's been in Dublin
Oh,
for all these
yes.
last
Yes.
weeks. Yeah.
Yes.
So anyway, so she can't be with us, but she'll watch afterwards. So
And yeah, I noticed the little picture that she sent, and it was she said drafty dingle. So it looked like it was a photograph of one of the old dingle houses that she'd gussied up.
I think it's lovely that she's
Yeah,
while she's traveling, she's using photography from her travels, like to make
right.
stuff.
Yeah.
So, probably once she's had her lovely dinner or whatever and gets back to the hotel room, she probably has some energy to spare, or maybe over breakfast she has some energy to spare. So,
Envy people like that.
yeah, no kidding, eh? Um, Today, Debbie sent a couple of questions regarding Procreate that I'll deal with at the end. A couple of things she wants to know how to do in Procreate. Bev, bless you, sent a really wonderful request for um, how to how to basically how to create cubist imagery this way. So
Oh,
that is to say, working with multiple vantage points of a single subject
neat.
or something adjacent to that.
Hmm.
The cubist approach has so many different ways it can be developed, but it all relates back to cubism. And I'm going to show you some work that I've been doing that actually relates to it. That's new work, and
Oh, I
you'll be getting a
I always seem
preview
to
of the
I always
show.
seem to be on the same wavelength as you.
Yeah, yeah, um, yeah. This hasn't been on social media or anything, so you're
That's
seeing it
good.
here first.
And I want to know what happened to the peaches.
That'll take some time. Yeah. They're just waiting. Well, Cal's going to make a scale model that I'm going to play with them in, combining them with other things. They're part of an installation, so we'll see. Um, uh, First, I want to show you something fun that's related, and you'll see how later. But anybody here love the color blue?
Oh,
Mm,
yes, of course. That's
Good.
all I do is blue.
you do. Yeah. I agree.
And anybody here like rugs?
Mhm.
Hmm.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, well then.
I love
We're
them as
go-
art pieces.
yeah, Yeah.
So you said rugs, not drugs.
Yeah, that's what I
That's
wondered.
right. That's right. And you know, they are different questions. That's for sure.
Trick question.
I got some
Oh, look
drugs
at
I
that.
don't like so much, I gotta say.
Oh,
Nice.
Love that.
Okay,
cool.
so this is a
Whoa.
mock-up supplied by the company that's making me a rug. But I'm going to
Ah.
show you the image. There's the image.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
So
great.
this image is of a blue willow china pattern
Yeah.
that I blew up a lot, made into a brush in Photoshop, the whole design just in blue, stamped it, blew that up, printed it on, let me get the thing that I printed it on.
Wow.
Printed it onto silk. So if you see in
Ooh.
my little
Oh.
window,
Wow.
there it is.
Oh,
It's on silk. And then I crumpled it up and photographed it and cropped it into a circle.
gee.
And now, so this is already like much larger scale than the original pattern, which was a little detailed pattern on a plate, right?
Mhm.
Mhm.
But this is going to be printed on a 5-foot diameter circular rug. So now
Wow.
the scale is going to be huge.
Wow.
What material, Kim?
It
Is
is
a
a
rug.
chenille.
Oh, okay. Oh, chenille.
Yes.
That has a kind of a nap, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
Ah.
I think it'll be a slightly silky sort of nap. It's a
Mhm.
polyester chenille
Mm.
because that's what they print onto synthetics. And yeah, I'm very excited to see it. So I altered the photograph, just so you know. I made most of the whites genuinely white
Yeah.
because you don't like the rug blank is white. You don't want them to have to paint some slightly dirty looking white, right? On those things.
Right.
So
Yeah.
you want to think about things like that when you're printing onto material, different substrates. I also took the shadows and did another layer just working with the shadows, blasting out anything that wasn't shadow, and made that black and then multiplied it onto the blue base layer. So that I'm thinking like a printmaker. So if I were silk screening
Yeah.
this is what I would do, sort of thing, right? I'd have the blue plate, and then I'd have the black plate over top to bring the shadows darker. Because if it's a carpet with nap, I don't want to have all these like 4,800 shades of gray going on in it. I want it to have some impact so that you can really read the image, really read the creases and the folds and so on. So so I wanted you to see that because I think that'll be quite interesting. It's going to hang on a black wall.
Mm.
Where did you get it printed, Kim? Who prints rugs?
I went through a company that brokers places around the world called Printify.
Yeah. Huh.
Just search rugs.
Because when we were in Amsterdam, there was a beautiful rug in front of the elevator doors,
Yeah,
and it was an aerial view of Amsterdam.
yeah.
And they'd had it printed in red and black on the carpet.
Now they had probably got a more expensive process done than this because they'd need
Oh,
a durable
probably.
rug.
Yeah.
This would not be suitable for commercial use, I don't think. Although I bet it feels nice on bare feet.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, it's beautiful.
So I said that's related to something that deals with the subject matter, and it is, and I'll show you why. So you remember my
That's you.
bases
Yeah.
in the show that were on scrolls and on aluminum and wood and so on. So what I did is I had them printed on silk squares, a few of them, so that I could manipulate the fabric and crumple them and create altered, very different faces from them. And what that does is is related to cubism. Because cubism, one of the hallmarks of it is the push and pull. Cubism showed us that reality is our plasticine. Space and form, solids, gaseous, doesn't matter. It's all plasticine for us to manipulate any way we want, right? So hence this face, which by printing it onto silk made it very manipulatable. And I'll go in closer. You may recall that the silk scrolls were halftones, which is to say these dots.
Yeah.
And so these are as well. And one of the things that happens, any of you who took a figure class with me or anybody else probably remembers cross contour or conceptual contour drawing to indicate form, right? Well, really what that's about is about creating a pattern. You know, in its purest form, it's a set of stripes. But then when it goes around the form, it distorts to match the form. And so what's happening here is I boosted the contrast on the photography to reduce the grays, because the dots themselves describe, their distortions describe so well what is happening with the fabric, right? Like where they get super, super skinny and dense up here compared to the nice wide open dots, rounder dots here. You can tell that the fabric is doing this. Our brains can interpret that. And this lovely fold, this is looking like what's developing on my actual face. That's true to life. You know, here's the failed facelift.
Could you have done any of that manipulating that swirl? You know, some of the keys in Photoshop that you can distort?
No, I didn't do anything in Photoshop except boost
No.
the contrast and crop
But
it.
could you with a face like that?
You can liquefy and pull things.
Yeah,
So yes, the result is different. Like the
different.
digital version is different than, and you can use warp. We did a class where I showed you a more
Yes.
granular way of working with warp.
Yes.
So definitely you can get all kinds of interesting things from that. So, but I knew that if I just physically manipulated the fabric, I could get things that I couldn't get digitally without being way too much work to be worth it.
There are a lot more planes on that
Yeah,
than you would get if you use the warp thing.
exactly.
That
There are a
takes
lot
the
of
one plane.
folds.
Yes, yeah, you don't get the
So-
same. No.
Yeah. So you can definitely get effects that are related to what you're seeing here,
Mhm.
but different. And, you know, they can be wonderful. So definitely have a go at that. Let me
love
show
it.
you some more.
So Kim, you actually folded where the light, like had the areas that are light come forward, right?
I put this scarf down on a table
Yeah.
and I just scrunched it up and photographed it.
Okay.
You know, like you do, like just once it's on a table, you can just, you know, play with it, pull this, push that, you know, pull it up higher, whatever. You know, there are parts of the photograph that are lighter and they stay lighter,
Right.
Okay.
right? So, what's different though is that, let me zoom in here. There are some cast shadows. I did allow some midtones to come through, but look what happens to the dots. Let's start right here. Can you see where I'm circling around the
Mhm.
nose? Okay, look, follow those dots down into there. You can tell that's a valley just because of the distortion of the dots.
Mhm.
If it were
Right.
stripes, same thing. You'd have,
Mhm.
They
as long
go
as there's
around.
regular stripes, you'd feel them going around, tucking in so they get foreshortened, and then coming back out and flattening because now they're fully round. And then look here, they're distorted here again at the lower lip. That means the fabric's coming out. It's going around. You can see it going around, and then it gets tucked a little bit under, comes out again, goes around. So you can sit, your brain can understand this. It understands what happens when patterns do this. And when you think about it, you know, halftones have described a lot of images in our lives, especially because we're older, right? So we lived through the glory of print, and so we might even have less trouble interpreting that than a younger person. And you can see overlaps where things overlap. So you know that there's a fold there just because there's an interrupted thing, right? So this is literally pushing and pulling something. You could do that. I mean, it'd be interesting to do that on paper. There's in my contemporary portraiture workshop that I did before COVID. I forget what year, 2019 maybe. We did some paper creasing from magazines with big faces to achieve a cubistic effect. It completely transforms the faces, right?
Cal does that when he does his collage. That's one of the things that the exercises that he has us do.
Yeah, yeah, because it's such a valuable way of changing how you look at something. So this is not so much looking at something from multiple vantage points, but it gets to another aspect of cubism, and you end up with distortions and a kind of expressiveness that painting something straight, you know, you've all seen the photographs of these straight, and they are emotional, they are expressive, but there's something additional that happens when manipulations like this happen. Let me just showed you that one.
I love these.
Thank you. I'm very pleased with them.
Mhm.
This ripple that goes across the mouth, just and the relationship now of the eyes really emphasizes what's going on expressively in the eyes.
Mhm.
Huh.
This was a surprising one. Oh, come on. There we go.
Looks like my wrinkled face.
We're also complimentary of ourselves today.
All right. My 6-year-old grandson said to me the other day, "Can you put something to fill in those cracks?" Your face.
Just a little spackle mark. That's all you need.
Yeah. Yeah. I said, "No, I don't think so."
Yeah. One of the things here is the sense of movement that's created, and the warp tool, for example, or the liquefy, you can build a sense of movement for sure that way. You could also take an image that's straight, duplicate it, and perform, you know, a twist, a spin on it, or something that's just relatively small, but changes it a lot, and then combine parts of it with the straight image to see what happens. Oh, come on. What happens around the mouth here and chin really interests me. And then, let's see.
That looks like a grieving widow, you know, with the netting over the face.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. Sometimes I think it's a shame we don't have that as a practice anymore, because it'd be nice to be able to get that modicum of privacy sometimes, you know, that you
Right.
get with a veil at a funeral or a memorial
Yes.
service or something. But it would look very odd now.
Yes.
Kim, when you had your face on the panels for your show a couple
Yeah.
years ago, were they pixelated like this?
The ones on the panels were not.
I didn't think so.
Mm-hmm.
So you
The ones on the
pixelated.
silk were.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
And that
So
was
the-
what you used for this.
Yeah, I used the halftone ones because I wanted the halftone dots. Um, on the scrolls, what I was imagining, and it did work, was that from a distance you just see photographs, but as you get closer and closer and closer, they break up into those dots, and that was an important thing for me. For this, it actually adds so much to what's happening with the form that we have that dot pattern.
Mhm.
So to me, it was good decision to use the dots. These are going to be printed on wood, so they're going to be warmed up a little bit, and a pale natural wood. You'll see wood grain wherever there's white. You'll see a pale wood color, and you'll see some grain. And it will even warm up the black a little bit. So they won't look quite as stark in a way. But yeah, so that's the push-pull, thinking that way can really help in terms of wherever you have the other hallmark of cubism is fracture lines. Now, fracture lines can mean a lot of things. They can be derived from a lot of different things. You can arbitrarily impose fracture lines on an image, for example, to create a structure that you then work within to show multiple views of a single subject. You can also take your subject, and I've created a new layer on top of the main photo. Sorry, I'll turn that off. What's the other layer that's at work here? I'm not sure. We have multiple visible layers. Let's just turn them off. Okay. Where's that coming from? There we go. Okay. Found. Okay, so there's the base image. I thought, okay,
Right.
this is the image I'm going to start with. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do kind of a structural linear drawing. And that's going to be at least the starting point for how I'm going to divide up and fracture the image. So this is the drawing I did just straight in Photoshop with my mouse, but using a brush. And I purposely used a blue line that I'd be able to see, but wouldn't be like hopelessly too energetic, But the way to get a modicum of control when you've got the brush and you're using your mouse is up here in the tool options bar. Set the size of your brush, the opacity, make the opacity and flow 100%. Make smoothing 100% if you don't want a nervous line. If you just you're trying to get structure. So you're trying to simplify the line, not complexify it. So turning smoothing on will help smooth out the irregularities and help you make straighter lines, better arcs, that kind of thing. And so that's why this looks so regular, because I have smoothing on. 100%. If I turned smoothing to 0%, and well, I guess that's not too bad, but let's, it gets wonkier. And some of you, the more trouble you have with your hands, the wonkier it will be, right?
Yep.
So smoothing, just remember you have to have the brush tool selected. And as soon as that is, this tool options bar for brushes comes up, and you go to smoothing and you turn it to 100%, and it gives you tons of help. And now when I draw, it makes it a little slower, but it makes my arcs cleaner, makes my straights cleaner. Even when I do something like this, those are good, clean arcs. They're not weird. Weird can be great, but this isn't where I wanted weird, right? Those of you who've taken face and figure with me, which is most of you, you'll know that I really enjoy doing structural breakdowns. I mean, that's how I build a drawing of someone anyway. And it's actually tons of fun doing it on top of a photograph, frankly. You never know what you'll sort of discover about the structure of something when you do that. It doesn't have to be a person, it could be something else, but you can find some very interesting things, and it might lead to a jumping off point for you. But having done that drawing, and I took the opacity down to about 50%, just so I could see it, but it wasn't, if it's at 100%, that's pretty bright, I don't need it that bright. So you just set it to an amount that feels good, even 40%, it's good and visible. And then I look at that and I think, oh, maybe that'll have to be part of the piece too, I like a nice line. So then I'm thinking, okay, I've got other photographs. So this is the thing, you have to actually photograph the piece from multiple vantage points. When you think about Matisse's tables, right? The scene would be like this, but then you'd see the whole top of the table. But then you'd see the pitcher of water perfectly flat, as though you weren't seeing the top of the table, and things like that. So he sort of did it that way. But if you're doing a water picture, for example, photograph it from the top, photograph perfect profiles, back and front views, photograph 3/4 views, photograph somewhat from below and at different angles, and just really kind of build up a dimensional sense. So you could actually, if you printed out those photographs, you could sort of clip them together or pin them together and assemble a three-dimensional model of that picture with a cubist feeling, right? Much
Ooh.
like, yeah, ooh, exactly. Much like David Hockney did here in 1986 with his famous Pear Blossom Highway photo montage with actual photo prints of the desert. And this is, a new form of cubism. In this case, the fracture lines are the edges of the photo prints. They are all standard 4x6-inch prints or whatever. And before getting to the, the kind of the juicy subject matter, I just want to take a moment to appreciate the fact that areas like the sand and the road and the sky, how beautifully activated they are by the fact that they are separate things, and each one of those separate little units, its boundaries being fracture lines, has tonal variation within it. A different thing that could happen is you could have actually slightly different colors in each of these, right? So they could be flat, not tonally so varied within the photo, but they could be more violet, more green, more blue, more this, more that, a little paler, a little darker. And that is a beautiful way to activate a big empty space, right? Using cubistic thinking. And part of what the cubistic thinking there is that every fracture line represents a change when you cross that line. Now, the change can be vantage point, the change can be scale. So it could be the same view of an eye on a portrait, except it's much larger. It could be that you've made it darker or added some color to it, or you've gone from tonal to high contrast graphic looking. Any change you can think of is a change that could happen when you cross any one of these fracture lines. So let's take a closer look at this first sign here. And you can see like part of the sign is darker here, but on this part, it's a little lighter and brighter. Everything doesn't match perfectly. So this is another thing, right? Sometimes you'll decide to align something, you know, even if the eye is a different vantage. I'm just going to keep referring to a portrait because that's what I was working on. If the eye is a different vantage point and or a different scale, you could choose to align the inner corner with the previous eye. But then the rest of it's going to go off into whatever direction it goes off and whatever size, right? So change, but you can also consider what aligns and what doesn't align. How big a change do you want? The more drastic the change, the more chaotic it starts to get. So having some unifying force is useful for being able to build a composition in sections and to identify things. Isn't this fun? What happens to the word ahead? I love this A. Because
But
he's
it
shot
also
it from
looks
different
like it-
angles, right?
Also looks like he's curved it.
Well,
to
and
me,
it's just the different angles
yeah.
that he shot it at, and then he's made decisions about how to lay it out. But it turns this, you know, otherwise, you know, okay, it's a highway in a desert, into wow, this is really fascinating.
Now this was collage, right?
Yeah, of you know, lab produced photo prints.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
You can see here in the Joshua tree, look how differently exposed different shots of the Joshua tree are. You know, you could, here's a case if you were doing a plant or something outside, a tree, you could shoot it at different times of day. And those could be the changes at the fracture lines, right? What's it like at sunset? What's it like on a cloudy day? What's it like in a bright sunny day? What's it like lit up by spotlights or something at night? You know, anything that you can dream of. In the middle of a rainstorm, what's it like? Here, the color changes so dramatically here. So blue here and so brown here.
And then if you did I'm thinking of all different shots at time of day of the boat. Okay?
Yes.
So if I took those and then reassembled them,
Yeah.
I could reassemble them, but it not look like the boat at all.
Yeah. It doesn't have to.
No.
There's no law that says it has to look like the boat. You could
Okay.
reassemble it in a way that you find interesting. Find relationships between different shots that are interesting, connecting points. Nice
Well, that would
places to make
be
changes.
that could be fun.
Yeah. It's a great way to use the camera on your phone because it's so easy to just pull
Yeah.
it out. You have it on you all the time. So it makes it easier to, there are some nice squash cans.
But then you could collage it on a background in Photoshop, right?
Yeah, that's right. So if you have a lot of shots you want to assemble, give yourself a good size canvas to work on in Photoshop, and then
Okay.
size down your photos when you bring them in to make them smaller. I mean, you can see the size of his photos here.
Yeah.
You don't have to work with this many photos, so yours could be larger compared to the whole
Yeah.
versus how he's done it here.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm going to show you a couple other things that I did thinking about this problem preparing for the course, the class. Oh, if I can just get my computer to collaborate with me instead of fighting me. There we go. It's just because I'm tired. It knows when I'm tired and it says, I'm going to screw you up.
Can you get a magnetic, like a magnifying thing to put on your screen?
I think there is such a thing, but there should be built into your operating system a function called accessibility
Okay.
that allows you to enlarge. If you're looking at enlarging things like the menu items and that
Yes.
kind of stuff, as opposed to
Yeah.
the image. Yeah. So
Okay.
look up accessibility features.
Yep.
My
I should do
mother's
that.
on Windows and she has low vision and she uses the excessive. I can hardly use her computer. It's just one of the things you have to know is that when it magnifies it, it means you're seeing a really small part of the screen quite large and it's covering up other things, right? So it takes a
Okay.
little getting used to, but it's very, very helpful if you're
Yeah.
having trouble reading the things, you know?
Oh, like for me to read the small print on your computer screen across the top,
Oh, I understand. Yeah.
absolutely impossible. These
Yeah.
are new glasses.
Yeah.
So I almost feel like taking a magnifying glass.
Can you watch YouTube on your television?
I can. So that's what I was going to do.
Yeah, and if you've got high definition television, then you should be able
It'll be
to
better.
yeah. So, do that and then you can have your laptop in your lap and try things.
Well, that's what I was going, that's my, Mike and I were talking about that last night, and
Great.
that's what I'll do.
Okay, this is another, I don't know why my gestures aren't working on my trackpad today, so I'll just use the magnifying glass. This is another approach I took, which isn't strictly speaking cubism, but I thought it was interesting because it's something produced thinking about cubism, right?
Mhm.
And I think that nowadays that's the most common way to look at cubism. Some of it will look more like cubism and some will look less, but it's about thinking about how we see it 100 years, more than 100 years on, right? So I took, this is my flattened version. I took a whole bunch of photographs of myself, made them semi-transparent, moved them around, and until I got something interesting. Let me get the one that has the if I can find it. Always a question.
No, you were making them semi-transparent and moving them around on the computer, right?
Yes, that's right. If I turn that off. Okay, there we go. No, that came from the flattened one too. All right. Excuse me. Having some tea with honey to try and Keep the cough down. I think I have to do it from this one. Okay. Let's turn off the drawing. Whoops. 350% is not going to do it. Looks like I need a white layer. Sorry, just resetting this file up, sort of the way it was, but it's not really the way it was. The principle is there though. So if I pick any given layer, it's not opaque. That's key, right? If you're seeing layers through layers, they're not opaque. So you change the opacity, and right now it's on normal. It shouldn't be. It should be on multiply. Let's get this one on multiply too. And this one might have been on lighten.
So you're just overlaying them all on the original.
That's right. I mean, they're just on different layers, and I'm just, maybe this is the one that I did lighten on. So some of them are multiply, some of them are lighten. Just multiply, eventually you work your way down to black, right? So, so you have to lighten the odd layer.
How many
And I
layers?
do
How many layers did you have, Kim?
quite a few. Maybe as many as 11.
Okay.
Okay, so I suggest starting with fewer layers, pardon me,
Mhm.
because it just gets quite cumbersome going through. But for those of you who feel quite comfortable with that, go with as many layers as you want, you know. But you get this interesting thing that's happening, like some things, you know, I would adjust this because I think what's happening in the eyes is not what I'm happy with, but you get some interesting simultaneous stuff happening, and it becomes a puzzle for people to look at. And I think that one of the strengths of cubism and its legacy is that a reality is our Play-Doh, and B
Kim, were
the
they the same picture?
and B no,
Sorry.
there would be no meaning if they were the same picture, would there?
Okay.
B, I was just in the midst of trying to say
I'm
something.
sorry, Kim. I just
Um,
trying not to learn not to blurt out stuff.
I totally understand. It's an ADD thing, and I'm guilty of it myself.
Are you talking about clearing the around the eyes?
I was push and pull. Oh, it'll come to me. Anyway, I'm going to go back to the one that's flattened because I had worked out something that was more successful, I think. There we are. But using the transparency to do it, right? So you can see how you're seeing multiple states. So one of the things that happens when you're seeing multiple states is there's an inherent energy and dynamism to it, right? And so it creates movement within it. And when you think about, Bev, how you put it, multiple vantage points, right? So if you're seeing something in multiple vantage points, you think about animation, that's how you get to movement in animation, right? There are multiple there are variations on a thing. So so this, if you've seen that effect in film where something moves, but you see several ghosts of what happened previously while something moves, that's sort of like this, right? And so there's a sense of movement in this. There.
Question.
Yes.
Can you do any of the layers in another color?
Of course. Yes. Using hue and saturation, select the layer you want. Colorize, turn on hue and saturation, colorize, and then change the colors, the saturation, and the lightness. Don't forget to change lightness, because you'll change the hue, you'll change the saturation. You say, why isn't it blue? And it's because it's too dark. So you have to move the lightness bar, and suddenly you'll see blue. Okay?
Just thought it might be interesting to highlight the one you really wanted to look at.
Absolutely. I can't do it on this one because it's flattened.
Yeah.
But here, I could show that quickly on this one. We'll just randomly pick one here. And I can actually, you can go up to image adjustments to hue saturation. I'm going to go to the adjustments panel and make an adjustment layer that I will also make a clipping layer. So it only applies to this layer that I'm working on. And let's make it, let's make it red. In this panel, you notice I couldn't get the lightness bar. I see the word lightness, but it just means you have to scroll within the panel to get down to the lower part. So as I lighten this, oh yes, right. Why am I not getting color?
Are you on the right box? The right one opened?
Yep. Thank you for asking, but yep.
Well, that's my problem.
No, it's a good thing to ask. I was running into this problem before the class started, and I probably should have restarted my computer because sometimes it just means that I've got an issue. Trust me when I say that's the way to do it.
Okay.
Select the layer you want, image, adjustments, hue saturation.
Be fun to try.
Turn on colorize. Increase
What happens if you don't clip it, Kim?
I will try that. Nothing really. Lightened. I'll just turn that off. I'll just try it on the menu here. I did not want that. Thank you. Adjustments, hue saturation. Colorize. There. It's working this way. So screw the adjustment layers. Which in theory should work, but they weren't for me this time. So okay.
So you just did it right on that layer.
Yeah, see layer
Okay.
5, and you
Yeah.
can see in the little thumbnail how it's turned red, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So that's the thing. It's not with the adjustment layer. I was doing that in case I wanted to change my mind.
Right.
Okay.
But here, I'll increase the opacity as well. So
Yeah,
now it
yeah.
has a stronger presence. It's
Oh.
also true that if you move it in the sequence, it will see how it changes the image.
Oh, yeah.
Never forget that sequencing, what's on top will have the strongest effect.
Okay.
So close, see how that got way stronger?
Yes.
Yeah.
I went from here up 3 levels, way stronger. So always play with this layer sequence because you never know what you might get. And of course, every time you change the sequence, you might find a different a different color blend mode causes different things. So the red one right now, for example, is on color dodge. But you know we can have fun in here.
I'm sorry I opened this box.
Don't be sorry. I think it's awesome.
Well, it's just all my
There,
what
look at how
ifs.
Oh, that's
strong that
interesting.
is,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And yet you do see the underlying
Mhm.
information as
Yeah.
well. So
Yeah.
Oh,
honestly,
that looked
you
like a
can,
mask.
it does, doesn't it? There, Halloween, here we come.
Oh, even that's not bad.
So,
Oh my.
right? Yes, oh my, exactly. Exactly. So there's tons of, geez, I might have to save that one. All right.
Glad I gave you the idea. What's it in? I forget. What's it? You're in
I'm just saving in Photoshop.
That was in
yeah,
color burn. Yeah.
color
Yeah,
burn.
Yeah,
I
that was
find
color burn. Thank you.
I find if you're going through the modes and you go, oh, that's a nice one, and then you click onto the next one, you make a couple of changes, and you don't seem to be able to get back. It's like a maze. It's like, oh shoot, I should have made a copy of that.
That's right. Save a
Moved
copy.
on,
Remember, save a copy,
Yeah.
right? You see something you really like? Save a
Save it.
copy.
That's true. Yeah.
So, it's a useful thing, but yeah, there's something powerful about that. So that's why I'm saving it. When you
Mhm.
notice something powerful, make sure you've got a copy of that. Okay, so then there were some things I tried. It's demo
Right.
2. All right, let me compare demo. Okay, demo 1 we looked at. So demo 2,
It's interesting.
that took me somewhere else.
Mm.
I started here. Oh, I started here with the previous demo. Then I duplicated the layer and I changed the levels so it was higher contrast. I brought the blacks in, I brought the whites in. Sorry, the opposite for you. Brought the now I'm confused. I'll stop. But blacks on the left, whites on the right, bring them in and move the center point if you need to get the optimal result. And I thought, yeah, I like this increased contrast for what I'm about to do because I wanted to find edges.
Okay.
And when it was all very, very gray, it was harder for it to find edges. It found some, but very, very reluctantly. Let's put it that way. And then I
Where do
thought,
you
well,
find edges again?
that's under
Under-
filter, stylize. And then I thought, okay, I'm going to do an adjustment mask, but you don't have to use an adjustment layer. You don't have to use a layer. You could just have the layer selected and go to image adjust. I wanted to invert. And so that's what's happened here. And I thought this was quite interesting again,
Mhm.
Oh, yes.
right? And it's got all the I love the edges. Like I love the edges in the tonal one and I love the edges in this linear one as well.
Cool.
Just
But
this whole other thing, right?
It's like from the past, right? It's
Mm,
emerging.
yeah.
boy, you'd really have to go look at that. What would you, well, was gonna say, what would happen if you printed it on white, printed it on black?
Well, you
Printed
can't
it
print it
on-
on black or the
No,
whites
it
will
wouldn't
become
show.
black.
Yeah,
It has
okay.
black, so you print it on white, or you could print it on silver,
Yeah,
or you could print it on a bright lighter color, not a
Yeah.
not a bright reflex blue or ultramarine blue, because that's too dark. No one will be able to see it. But something lighter.
what about the fluorescent colors?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Okay. So that took me down a little alley.
Cool.
So this is why I love your questions, right? Because they take me down these interesting alleys. Um, and then I did a variation like this, which needs a let me give it a so we don't see the onion skin. I removed some of the layers and darkened, did it multiply and darkened. I think one layer was on lighten, and that's why it's going to such dark, dark, dark. But the lighten layer is helping to bring some light back into it. But you don't see as many faces, but it creates a whole different mood.
Mhm.
And so this is the thing, right? So showing multiple facets of a form or multiple views of a form or a subject can be an interesting dynamic way to deal with form and subject, but it can also, depending on what the subject is, add to meaning, add to expression,
Mhm.
which I think this does.
Beautifully rich and dark.
Yeah, very chiaroscuro with
Mhm.
enough subtleties that there's richness too. Okay, so let's go to number 4. Okay, number 4 is, remember when we did those collages? So collage is a way also of, and this is digital collage, of presenting multiple vantage points of the same subject. I only did a little bit here, and the fracture line is essentially just the cut edges, right? Just like David Hockney's fracture lines were the edges of his photo prints.
Mm.
So it doesn't have to be the features, of course. Like his sky and his sand and so on, you could actually keep more true to the original portrait in look, but carve out multiple, think of it as multiple little planes on the face and derive them from different shots, different lighting, different scale. So, some of the skin is big and you can see the pores. Some of the skin is in warm light, some of the skin is in cool light, some of it's in shadow, some of it's in light, and so on. In this case, I've started work on the features, and I've chosen to create some credible positioning, but with incredible results.
But
And
Jim,
yeah,
how did you get the two nose shapes together without having a line there?
it's just one nose shape from a
Okay,
different photograph that I cut out
okay,
and
right,
pasted onto this photograph.
got it.
So
Jeez.
think of it just like cutting and pasting from magazines, but you're doing it digitally using the lasso tool. The one that can be very nice to work with for this that I certainly liked using was the polygonal lasso tool. So you just click for every sort of corner there. Click, 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 right? And then it gets straight lines. And if you have trouble matching up the original corner, you double click and it will join it up. Looks like it would be helpful if I isolated.
Yeah.
Okay, there's the nose and the eye that I added on. See, Mark?
Yep. Okay. Yep.
Now, if I hide that nose and eye, let me try and do that. There's the original eye. There's the new eye.
Well, I like that. Yeah.
Here, is this the nose? Yeah, there's the original nose. This is from a completely different angle photograph, plus I distorted it. So
Okay.
that's why my schnoz is quite such a schnoz. So, while I had this pasted in place, I went to image, transform, distort, and then I pulled corners until I got it occupying the space I wanted it to occupy. Clearly with no eye to vanity, because vanity is not useful to us as artists, right? It's not like in the days of Sargent and so on. Unless that's the kind of artist you want to be, doing commissioned portraits for beautiful ladies,
No.
then you've got to let go of vanity. I highly recommend as an exercise, you can pick a person or a pet that you have ready access to. It could be yourself, it could be an unfortunate housemate. And you just take a whole lot of photos from all different angles, have them face the light, have them, put them by a window and have them photograph different parts of them in the light and out of the light. Remember to go low, go high, as well as around them. And throw in the back of the head too. You never know when you might need to just stick some back of the head in. And then play with it digitally. Don't go with it thinking I'm going to make a cubist portrait and it's going to work and all that. Don't even, I can't even go there. I just have to say, okay, I'm thinking cubism. I'm thinking playing with multiple vantage points. And that's why you see the results you do, right? Like how many different approaches have I shown you today, that I just did today?
Would you have time just to show us how you got the lassoed and polygonal shape to the face?
Sure. Yeah, I'd be happy to. I would be happy to.
I need a memory thing.
Yeah, sure. And I will edit and get this replay video up in the next couple of days so that you won't have to wait for the easy access. I mean, you always have access with the temporary link, but
yeah,
I know it's easier when it's on YouTube. Okay, let's turn on a layer here. Here we go. Let's say I want this mouth. Okay.
Okay.
So I'm going to magnify the view. There's my mouth. And I'm going to go up to the lasso tool in the toolbar. I'm going to click and hold it down so that I see the polygonal lasso tool just underneath and drag down to that. And there I've got it. And so now, can you see my cursor there, Mark?
Yep.
It's on the upper lip. Okay, so I'm going to start in the left corner here. And I just clicked. I clicked, which means you let go, right? And then I move it to the next spot that I want to click. And then I'm going to click here, Marg. And I'm going to click here. And I'm going to come down here, click. And I'm going to come down here and click. and click, and gotta get that little marionette line in there. So I'll click there. Somehow I never realized I was going to develop marionette lines. And then you have to meet it up at the end. And it will show a little circle in the lower right corner of the lasso tool when you have actually closed the circuit. And then you can click and it turns into marching ants. But if you have trouble with that, if you can't quite meet it up because you're not seeing it quite properly, and so it keeps creating extra points, just double click and it will close the loop for you.
Okay.
And then you won't be plagued by endless lasso tool nonsense. Okay, so now that I've done that, I'm going to switch my tool to the move tool. And you want to make sure that you have the correct layer selected. Is that the layer I was doing this from? Somehow I don't think so, because that has a layer mask on it. I think it must have been this layer. Yeah.
It's just
This is the visible layer, the one that's on
Right.
top. So make sure the correct layer is active in the layers panel, okay?
mhm.
Before you go to edit, copy. So there are two ways you can do it. You can do edit, copy, and then paste will create a new layer. See, a new layer was created here, layer 13. And
Okay.
that's where that mouth is now.
Yep.
Marching ants are no longer visible, but it's okay. You're on the new layer and you can go to transform, distort, and see how the handles pop up now. Just gonna, whoops, transform. Let me just do that again. Transform, distort. There we go. Okay, and now I can do all kinds of things. Or you could do free transform. But I can make this mouth quite different. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn off the layer I got the mouth from so that I have the image that I was building on. See that?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to make the view smaller now so you can see the whole face. My mouth is just sticking in the middle there. So I'm going to bring it down. And so one of the things that's interesting to play with is direction. Helen had a cute smile on her face. I'm looking like I was in a bad fight. But I quite like the fact that the nose is going off in one direction and the mouth is going off in another direction. That's a very cubist thing, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
And so, but you can, of course, play with to what degree that's true. So I'll go to edit free transform and just shift drag this out to maybe stretch it a bit. Yeah, you know, I'm kind of liking that.
Mhm.
Go to transform, distort, maybe just taper that down a little bit.
And if you wanted to smooth those edges a bit, what would you do?
Right, to blend it in.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you don't mind being destructive about it, you can just use the eraser tool, which is this tool here, and go up to your brush selection, make it a soft tool, and make it fairly large. Let's see how that's not large enough. Let's make it a little over 100. And just take the edge. See that? See how that's dissolving into the, can you, okay,
The top lip.
I'll enlarge it. Okay.
So is there a blur tool, Kim?
There is a blur tool, but this is better than a blur tool because it shows what's below.
Okay.
So a soft brush, remember, has a porous edge.
Mhm,
So
mhm.
everything you do with the edge is like an airbrush. It's particles of the thing, allowing what's underneath below. So you see
See.
my circle is
Mhm.
it's just the edge.
Yeah.
Maybe 20% of the brush is on the edge of the mouth cutout.
Mhm.
This is using the eraser, and look at that,
Yes.
right? That's dissolved. I can
Yeah.
just touch up little parts of it. Like maybe I don't want that corner, right? But maybe I like this. Because this is a hallmark of cubism too, right? These shocking changes of
Mhm.
value, sense of plane, a sense of fracture. But there are places, and think about painting, soft edge versus hard edge, right? So pick your places. It's already dissolving here, so I might just enhance that a bit over there. So that's a destructive way. If you want to do non-destructive, you make a mask for that mouth and then you paint it into the mask. Same approach, just you're doing it on a mask instead of the thing. But sometimes it's good to be direct. I don't want technical issues to get in the way of you trying something, and everybody can understand what an eraser is, right? So just remember that when you want to blend something, you use the soft round brush. And the bigger it is, the gentler the blend will be. And that's nice because then you can just work it a little extra to get it to the degree you want. And that's without changing opacity or flow. That's just using the softness of the brush. So let's look at this now that I've blended that. And yeah, that's really done something. So it feels fastened to the face here where it's blended, and then it's like it emerges, sticking out of the face there. And that's a very interesting cubist effect too, right? That's that push-pull again, edges, fractures, and so on.
Yeah, that's more interesting than I think it was before.
Yeah, yeah, I think so. And that's the fun of it. But even in the hair, you could even though the hair is not like a very active place, that's a place you could have some fun too, bringing in stuff that's going in a different direction, or it's a different scale, or it's lighter, or it can't be much darker, obviously. So lighter. Yeah. The hood could be constructed from multiple hoods and therefore have some of this piece together effect. So this kind of approach, the key here is the lasso tool having layers that have different views. So, maybe you have 6 photographs, right? Bring copy and paste all of them into a layer that has one of the photographs. Do a save as at that point, once you've got them all together in a layer, and rename it something. You might want to put the word cubist in it or something so you understand what you're trying to do. Cubist test 1, because you might want to save some test 2s, some test 3s, some test 4s, right? Because you want to save copies if you're getting something interesting. And then you can start to go to town with your just browsing through. So what I will do, for example, is I will have all of the layers visible, which really means that the top layer is what I see, right? Because whatever's on top with opaque layers, you're just going to see what's on top. So I'll have all of the layers visible, and I will look at it and study what's interesting about this angle, structures, what possibilities are there for fracturing or for changing things up. And then I will turn off. I'll turn off that little mouth there. I'll turn off that top layer so that I see the next layer underneath it. Say, oh, okay, this is the same angle, but I raised my eyes. opened my eyes more. This one, I really turn it off. Next one, same angle, but I've really raised my eyes. Okay. This one, I'm looking down into the side. So you can bear that in mind. I'll just get rid of that nose. You can bear that in mind when you're shooting whoever your lucky subject is, yourself or others, and try and catch them with their attention directed in different places. Okay. Turn that off, and let's get that starry eye out of the way. And now I've changed angle, I've changed tilt. Everything's different about this. So what's interesting about this? Is this the one I want to build it on? Because that's what you're looking for. You're looking for what you might want to build it on, and what ones offer you interesting variations. Like I knew that 3/4 view of me would provide an interesting nose. I actually did a mirror image of the nose when I put it into the photograph to get it to go in the direction it went. Turn off that one so that you can see this one. This is not quite the one I built it on. Very neutral sort of face. There we go. There we go.
So Kim, you had all these before, did you?
Yeah.
Okay.
This is the photo shoot. I couldn't go shoot some new thing to prep for the
Right.
class.
Yeah.
So these are the sackcloth and ashes, a subset of my sackcloth and ashes photographs series.
Right.
Yeah. So the thing for you is, if you're shooting, working with black and white can be really interesting, because then you can lay on any color you want or churn it into flat color. You can make a graphic. But if you want to shoot in color, I recommend reducing the saturation to work with it. You think about classical, the original analytical cubism, it was super low key color, right? Very, very
Neutral.
grays and heavily modified earth tones, so that they were very, very low intensity. One of the things about that is it allows you to focus on the actually quite difficult structures you're working with. Working in cubism is a creative and intellectual challenge. And so if there's a lot of color going on, you can bring the color back in if you want afterwards. Don't destroy your color originals. Make sure you're duplicating, right? But play with them in a reduced saturation, or you could turn them into gray, black and white like this. So that you're really looking at it and seeing the structure, the personality, the direction, how effective the push-pull is. And then you could bring color into it once you've got a good structure happening. Because color will be distracting from you being able to see what you're doing structurally.
Excuse me, I have to go for a minute.
Yep. And can also end up being a crutch, that you're using the color as a crutch in place of figuring out the structure. Challenge yourself to figure out the structure nicely, and then bring in as much color as you want, is my advice.
Okay.
So Bev,
Yeah.
how do you feel about that?
Yeah. That's I was kind of thinking along more terms of like a still life.
Yes.
But still approach it the same way, I think.
Yeah.
Right?
Start simple with your
Right.
still life. Pick an object or two objects and photograph them from multiple vantage points, lighting situations, whatever.
Mhm.
and then bring them in and allow yourself to spend time just like looking through those photos. You know, you don't have to get to work right away. You just look through those photos, you know, bring a bunch of layers together into one document and flip through them and just and notice potentials.
Okay.
And
This
then,
is,
sorry?
sorry. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I was going to say this is similar, technically, I suppose, in approach to a number of the collages that we've done. You know, both the still life one and also the leaf. You know, the different leaf shapes and stuff like that.
In one of Cal's classes?
No, with you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, when we were doing the digital collages.
Yes, that's right. Well, this certainly relates to the digital
Yeah.
collages. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Mhm.
So, but I think it's very interesting to try and make a scene out of images of the scene, or a
Mhm.
face out of images of the face,
Right.
whatever,
Mhm. Yeah.
and then construct it in a deconstructed way.
Yes, that's right.
Mhm.
It is different in that sense, in that you're not working with a whole bunch of different images or taking parts.
Yeah,
You're working with the same image and looking at it, yeah, different aspects of it. And,
that's right.
yeah.
Lighter, darker, brighter,
Yeah, right.
duller,
Mhm.
upper, lower, righter, lefter,
Mhm.
fronter, backer.
Yeah.
And it's kind of one of the things I think is when you're doing the photography for that, you know, like drawing is such a powerful way to get to know your subject that you're drawing. Photography of that kind is photography can be as well. And photography of that kind, where you're coming at it in many different ways, the same thing, I think is particularly powerful because you're focusing on that one, but you're really trying to, you're both trying to get a gestalt out of the, for the thing out of these multiple images
Right.
and deconstruct.
Mhm.
That is a cool problem to wrestle with and a cool place to be artistically, I think.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Are there
And-
any other questions? Oh, sorry. Go ahead,
Yeah,
Helen.
no, I'm just thinking too, you could also look at one, maybe two images, and then take that image and play with it in, transform and and skew and warp and all that, and then try putting that same image back together. Or even, that would probably, you could get some similar ideas, different, but that
It's
would be
it's
very
another
cool to work with.
approach. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. I would say get a minimum of 3 or 4 shots of the
Mhm.
thing that are quite different in angle or whatever. And then you can of course play with color and proportion and distortion to your heart's content, along with uncountable other things playing digitally. So that's definitely one way to go as well. I mean, I think the thing that shows how important cubism was as a development is how many rich possibilities grow out of it and how different they are from each other,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm. Yeah, it was very intellectual rather than expressive, but you've just shown how you can take the intellectual and make it expressive.
Absolutely. I think that's incredibly powerful because I think the most powerful ideas are about our freedom, our ultimate freedom to build image and form freely. This is the thing that I always feel sad for realist painters because some of them I know are specifically realists as a counter, as a reaction against what happened with Cubism, right? And they're missing out on one of the greatest, most liberating developments that happened in art. They just, unfortunately, for whatever reason, can't see it. And it makes me sad because they're missing out.
Mhm. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And yeah, and because Cubism is far from being a single thing. And I think
Mhm.
that's a lovely thing to realize too, right? So Cubism affected everything. I mean, we understand the world differently because it happened. Even people who don't really know what Cubism is, their understanding of an illustration they come across happens because Cubism happened, and it's affected our culture.
Mhm. Well, film is so much based on cubism and how you see things from the how you show the present and the past in the same moment.
Oh, like that, just thinking of that thought, right?
Mhm.
What a fascinating basis for making artwork.
Mhm.
Present
Yeah.
and past. Um, yeah, I mean, I guess I'm doing a bit of that in the artwork I'm doing. So that rug that I showed you, just because I think this is somewhat related, it's going to be on a wall, black wall, in the main new gallery at Station Gallery. It's going to be aligned on an axis with the centrally located house sculpture, the burnt offering sculpture installation of the house, and the paper and the ashes and the lamps. That'll be in the center of the room. And then on the same axis on the opposite wall will be a large round mirror that I may or may not interfere with a little bit.
Mm.
But the important aspect of it is it's a mirror and the roundness echoes the rug.
Right.
So the carpet, the blue willow pattern, I'm sure I've said this to you before, is a kind of representation of me and my identity. So it's this mongrel chinoiserie thing invented by the English based on their understanding of Chinese motifs and manufactured in England at the beginning. What's funny is the Chinese, when they came along, they said, oh, this is successful. We should copy it. The British, right from the beginning, had a mass production approach to it. They used a kind of transfer print onto the ceramic.
Mhm.
But when the Chinese copied it, everything was hand painted. And it just shows wonderfully the gulf between the civilizations, right? Like just
Mhm.
so anyway, so that pattern, I'm digressing because I love the topic. The blue willow pattern is rumpled and in disorder, and so it's sort of representing the disarray, my sense of self and my identity was when my father died. Just it upset everything, right?
Mhm.
Including my sense of myself and my identity, because he was a shortcut to a hugely important aspect of my identity, many aspects really, and so I had to establish for myself, and am in the process of reestablishing that sense of self and identity for myself in myself, as opposed to relying on that kind of on a parent. And so the mirror is about the having to find within yourself, reflect and find within yourself. And so they're in conversation, these two round elements. So
And reflected back.
yeah, and you can see in the mirror, you'll be able to see
Yes.
the carpet
Very interesting.
there, but it'll be behind,
Right.
not in front. And so that's there can be a sense of past and present simultaneously in that experience, which all of that whole thought, that part of the thought just came to me when you said that about past and present at the same time.
Had you intuitively done that and now realized the rationale behind your intuition?
That happens a lot. I discover what it is once I see it,
Mm-hmm.
kind of thing,
Or talk about it.
talk
isn't it?
through it.
Yeah.
Do some of my best thinking,
Yeah, that's
talking.
interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
But yeah, I either have to respond to it. Once it got into the gallery, it would have a powerful effect. I'm sure it still will in terms of how I perceive it and understand it. But talking about it helps a lot. Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
When is your show, Kim?
It is in October. It opens the opening reception, and the first day it's open, I believe, is Saturday, October the 14th. And I think the opening starts at 2:00.
And where is it?
Station Gallery in Whitby.
Oh, okay.
That's
And
the same. I think that's the same curator who just curated the the show in Colburn Co-op. I think
oh
he
yeah,
did.
oh
Yeah,
good.
yeah.
He's great. He's a great guy. Cal and I've been friendly with him for many years, and he's a pleasure to work with. He understands about flux,
Mm.
and I'm an artist who needs to keep things in flux for quite a while, which could make some curators nervous, but it's the nature of creativity. Certainty
Oh my God,
is the
what you going to
opposite.
end up with?
Choose the artist that you have faith in. Yeah. If they've managed to deliver a whole bunch of shows that you respect, you're going to be okay,
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Mm.
yeah, last week I took a bunch of things to show him in person
Mhm.
because we were visiting the gallery. So, and that was fun because he said, oh, he fell in love with the silk things. Did I mention this already? He loved these, which I had made. I knew I could put them to some use in the future, but I had them made specifically to photograph
Mhm.
the way you saw them. And he said, oh, I know where they could go. So there's I don't know how familiar you are with Station Gallery, but there's the new wing that has the main gallery in it. And then there's the old station, and there's a breezeway, glassed-in breezeway that connects them. It's quite nice, and they have a patio out back where they have events that you can see from that breezeway. Anyway, they're going to hang. I have to make 4 more of them. They're going to hang in the breezeway, and they'll flutter as people walk by, which I think
Oh,
is
very
really
cool.
lovely.
Yeah.
And light will pass through them because they're in windows.
Yes.
And that's
Yeah.
another thing that I think will be nice about them. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
A lovely idea.
Yeah. I said, so you're making more work for me now. Like I didn't have enough.
So you got them printed at the same place, the poster place, the poster jack, or the other one in
No, I have the
Montreal?
silk place. I have the silk printed somewhere else. Oh, and I'm going to have a product launch. Good God willing, and the creek don't rise. 4 products I'm going to launch the day after Labor Day.
Oh.
Yeah. So fashion accessories.
Wow, so that's soon.
Yeah, I have someone helping me. I couldn't
Oh,
do it clearly. So I'll give you guys are my insiders, so I'll give you a preview when I have a preview to show.
Okay.
I'll send you a little link.
Yes.
Yeah, get a
Excellent.
preview. Yeah.
Now, Kim,
Yes.
are you going to do Photoshop this year after your show later on?
Yes. Well, I was going to suggest that if you would like, we could possibly fit one more in before my show,
Mhm.
if that's of interest.
Sounds good.
Always
Um,
interested, but I don't want you to put yourself under
Thank you
horrendous
very much.
pressure.
I really appreciate
Oh.
that. But I think I can do it in 2 weeks' time. That's the 12th of
September 12th.
September.
That's
Is
a
the 12th of
Tuesday.
September? Yeah, it's a Tuesday. I figure keeping it on Tuesday is good. We will start at 2:30 though.
Okay.
Does
Thank
that
you.
sound good to everybody?
Yeah.
Yeah. And that way the life drawers don't have to bust themselves, hopefully getting back, and
Thank
they don't arrive disheveled and out of breath and needing to go to the bathroom and yeah. So
I
yeah.
put one piece on Facebook. It's not
Oh
totally
yes, I didn't
it's not totally a digital thing, but it started out as digital.
Oh, that was
anybody
lovely.
who
That,
needs to leave can feel
Yeah.
free to leave, but I'm going to go to the Facebook group, and I forgot I
Okay.
have not answered Debbie's questions about Procreate. So I will end on the Facebook group. How about that? So Procreate, what were the two questions she had? Let me get them up.
How long does your show run, Kim?
It runs till late November.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's on for
Yeah.
6 weeks anyway.
Good.
Good.
Is it near the
Okay.
GO station if we get the GO train?
There is a GO train walking
Would be, I
distance to
know.
to the
Oh,
station.
fabulous. Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you don't have to drive
Good.
through Toronto.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Go with a friend and have a nice little chat, you know,
Yeah.
We could all
or
go
with a good
together.
book.
Yeah. Yeah. Mhm.
Either way. Okay. So Debbie wanted to know a couple of things. So what I'm going to do,
Eventually, might you do a Procreate course?
well, yes. In fact, as I
Workshop?
touched on earlier, I think there might need to be a like there was a Photoshop for beginners course before. In
Yes.
fact, Barb, you took advantage of that, right? The Photoshop
Yeah.
for Artists 1 and 2 before joining Tradigital. We could certainly
Yeah.
have a Procreate 1 and 2 kind of thing. Ultimately, I would like Tradigital to evolve to include Procreate. 'Cause in fact,
Yeah.
in practice, a number of you are already combining Procreate and Photoshop.
Yeah. It works really well. Yeah.
And if that turns out to work well for people, I don't want to put anyone in an awkward position, right? So that's why I'm couching it the way I am. So, give me feedback and all of that, because I need to know. But ultimately, it's remarkable how capable Procreate is. It has a
Mhm.
lot of depth. There's a lot of things you can do in it that you do in Photoshop. You have to get to learn Procreate well enough, but when you know Photoshop and you know how to do layers and layer blends and masking and so on, they have all of that too. They're called different things. It's just, learning the new terminology, and you find it in a different way. But it's I've been very impressed. I expected to be impressed, because I'd heard a lot of good things about it. But ultimately, you could all get off of the Adobe subscription model and just buy Procreate, and you own it. And have a lovely iPad and your pencil. Apple Pencil's awesome. And be able to paint and draw quite intuitively, but then work richly by bringing in photographs, altering them, layering them, blending them, masking them, and a whole lot of things that we do here. There are some things, of course, that Photoshop does that Procreate doesn't do. And so for those of you who love its extended capabilities, I'm always going to keep working in Photoshop as well. But I've intentionally been needing to learn Procreate for one of the video piece I'm doing. So yeah, I've been doing a lot of fire-based things here. You can see. In fact, let me open this one up.
Is that an iPad or
This is an iPad, yeah. It's just on a special case that
okay,
has a
right,
keyboard.
right,
So
right,
yeah,
right.
it's magnetically attached to that cantilevered case. Because I always need a keyboard, so I got this case. But okay, so here's that's all fire imagery and halftone in the background. That's all it does. But I'm very excited.
What do they call those GIFs? It's a GIF, right?
This one isn't, but it can be
No?
exported as a GIF. Yeah,
As a GIF. Yeah.
it can be. Yeah. So
I just need to know how to move between the two.
move between. It's super easy. You can open in Procreate any Photoshop document, and you can open in Photoshop the exported Procreate document that's saved as either a TIFF or a JPEG
Oh,
or a
okay.
You can
PNG.
do that. You can do that now. You can do that now. I couldn't do that with my old computer.
Yeah, it was just too old, dear.
It was just, it was just like me. Ah!
You cannot open in Photoshop a Procreate native file. What you
Right.
can do, though, is open a file you export in a compatible format like TIFF or JPEG or
JPEG,
PNG.
right.
Okay.
So you say
Okay.
so you save it as one of those.
Yes, exactly.
Mhm,
And then you
mhm,
share it
mhm.
via AirDrop to your laptop from
Oh, AirDrop. Okay, fine.
your iPad. Not
I
for
don't think I
Windows.
have AirDrop.
No, because you don't have a MacBook.
Right.
Your iPad will, but it doesn't have anywhere to go because you don't have a
No,
destination for it. Okay, so that's that. Now, two things Debbie asked. One was, and most of you already know this, but some of you may not. So, I happen to have mine on dark view. So, Debbie, if you see this and yours looks light in the background, don't let that alarm you. We're in the gallery of Procreate right now, where you go when you first open Procreate. And in the upper right corner, there's a plus sign here. And that's for making a new document. She wants to know how to make a new document. It comes with some preset page sizes, like 4:6 photo, 4K for video format, A4 square. But if you want to make a custom, all you have to do is press, there's a dark symbol here with a plus sign in it. Press that, and it brings you to untitled canvas. And you just enter the dimensions and the resolution that you want. So, for example, whoops. Oh, right. Don't use my pen. It's trying to read my scribble. If I make it 3000 by 3000 at 300 DPI, nice thing is it tells me the maximum number of layers I can work with, which is 70. I'll probably be fine. I think 70 would be a lot to manage, right? So so that's good. It's important for it to tell you that, though, because depending on how much you've filled up your iPad with images, you might need to export and back up images and not have them all on your iPad all the time, right? It depends on how much storage space your iPad model has. Also, how much RAM your iPad model has, because it can only manage.
Can you use an external hard drive to put them in?
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
You can get
I-
an external hard drive that uses the USB-C connector.
Okay.
USB-C
The
connector.
small one.
Yeah,
Yeah, small one.
but not the micro USB.
Not the micro one, no.
It's the rounded one, the modern USB, which is USB-C. And I, for example, have a couple by Western Digital that use it, that I bought it and they automatically use it, so you don't have to use a converter. It's better not to have a converter. Converters can cause problems. You'd be surprised. We encountered all kinds of issues. We have some converters we like and trust, but your hard disk is very important, right? You want your data to be secure. So get a drive that has it. Samsung also has them. A whole lot of companies will, but I've had good luck with Samsung and with Western Digital. So
What do you mean by converter?
it converts a normal USB connector to a USB-C,
Yes.
or it converts the old iPhone connector to USB-C or to regular USB, or there are
Yeah.
adapters, I guess you'd call
Yeah,
them.
adapter.
That's
Okay.
right.
Yeah. Yeah. I've got something that allows me to plug Ethernet into my USB port on my laptop, right? All that, and my microphone uses a regular USB, but my laptop only does USB-C. So yeah, there's a lot of that. So we have a lot of adapters or converters, so, and hubs that take multiple kinds of things, but
Mhm.
they're a whole other thing. Anyway, once you've entered in the dimensions you want and made sure that the DPI is what you want, you just, in the upper right corner, this bright orange button, create. And that's what will come up. Okay, so that's that for Debbie. And now the second thing she wanted to know was how to copy and paste something from one image into a new document. So I'm going to open up this document. At least I think I am. Okay. Playing with my new custom brush that I made that makes fire.
Ooh.
Doesn't it look like fire painting?
Mhm.
Okay. So Debbie, up in this upper left, there's an S type of icon, and that opens up your selection options here. I'm going to go with freehand, but there's rectangle, ellipse, and automatic. Automatic would be for special situations. So I'm just going to freehand copy something here. Okay, and I'm going to use this gesture with three fingers. Whoops. Oh, it didn't. There we go. I'm going to copy it. So it brings up this drop down menu, copy. Okay. So it's copied that thing. Now I'm going to go to gallery. You can either make a new document or I've already made a new document. So I'll go there. I'll use the same three-finger gesture, just quickly down. And paste is the option here. And there it is.
Perfect.
Paste it into your new document. And of course, layers is here. So you can see there's a background layer and there's the layer that you've pasted there. And you can just, whoops, oh, I'm painting. Yes, I'm on the brush. All right. Well, while I'm painting,
Oh, wow.
Nice.
isn't that
Mhm.
beautiful?
Yeah.
Uses the same
Amazing on
color.
black.
Did you make that brush yourself?
Yeah, I modified a brush.
From
Set it
from
up
Photoshop?
to, well, I took its source graphic because I liked an aspect of it, and then I built the rest of the brush from that.
Nice. Mhm.
So, okay, Facebook group, and then we're done. we can't skip the Facebook group because both Debbie and Bev have really put some wonderful pieces up there. So we can't miss out on that. Okay, I need to not show all my emails.
While you're doing this, Kim, I want to say I really appreciate the session you did on raw photos.
Oh,
I've been
good.
using that on my camera up here at this cottage. And photographs I've taken in the past, when I look at the view and I think it doesn't capture it, using the raw and then altering it, it's just made a world of difference.
I agree. And that's why the pros use RAW. Now, I should mention, and for anyone who's interested, I know on an iPhone, for example, presumably on Samsung too, you can use Lightroom. And since you all have Photoshop, Lightroom is included as part of your photography package. But there's a mobile version of Lightroom for your phone. And you can use Lightroom as the software through which you use the camera function of your phone. And it
nice.
allows you to shoot in RAW from your phone.
Wow.
That's what I wanted to know. Okay.
And of course, Lightroom allows you to make adjustments
Yeah, right.
after you've shot. So, yeah, now I haven't had a chance to play with it yet, but if anyone's interested, I'd be happy to go through that at some point this fall, you know?
That'd be
I
good.
would because when with the new computer, and I'm
Yep.
sure you too, Helen, they have upgraded the quality of your camera on your phone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So definitely. Okay, what Facebook? That's what we're going. Facebook. There's always interesting sidetracks. This is how you know it's me. Okay, we're going to scroll down to Debbie's first, although there's a fascinating thing there. Drafty Dingle.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Been using
Debbie's
some
having a
brushes.
lot of fun with the whole mixed media feel in Photoshop.
And
Maybe
brushes.
also Procreate. You know, because I know she's trying to learn Procreate too. But yeah, see all the brush work she's doing up in here? These are all from brushes. Brushes with different profiles, so they make different kinds of marks. And I think some brushes she's changing the settings, and which we've covered a few times in different lessons in Tradigital. So she's made things very activated and rich and playful. And look how she's painted onto the house, making it really glow. And the flowers, sort of more like how flowers feel than, you know, she's bringing the energy of flowers to life in how she's laying on pattern and color. And then there are like little flower forms moving up. Whether she intended them as such or not, that's how it feels. So connecting that foreground with the background.
Flowers are really three-dimensional. You feel like you could reach out and touch them.
Sure, and that's the beauty of combining photography with the painting, the digital painting, right?
Yeah.
Because she's got good shadows in her photography here, and that enhances the form, but then the colorizing really adds to it. So it's a beautiful piece. I think things got a bit dense mark making here, and so if she were here to talk to her, I'd suggest she take another look at the sky and not leave a strip right across the top that's all more or less natural sky, just a skinny strip. I would suggest that marks go off the top and come down, go off the side, but let some sky in here maybe. so that there's more of a relationship between the sky and the painted aspects, or go all out and cover the whole thing and then make it semi-transparent so the bit of the sky comes through that. But yeah, very vivacious, like Debbie.
Mhm.
Okay, and then we have this gorgeous.
It's
Mhm.
lovely, Bev. Mhm.
So Bev, you said you printed something onto washi. Oh, you're muted. Would you mind unmuting yourself? Yep.
The image is the shadow, and then another
This shadow
photograph.
here.
The shadow in the background, yeah, and the other, that's in Photoshop. And then I printed it on my printer onto a thin washi, and I used the wax, the encaustic wax medium, to put it onto the panel.
Okay.
And
And that's why we're
the
getting some
color's more
texture.
vibrant. The color's more vibrant than I couldn't get the photograph to bring it up. But that's like an electric kind of yellow green.
Right.
And then I put more drawing on top.
Is this charcoal drawing or
It's
what, pastel maybe?
yeah, pastel and these wax crayons.
Okay, yeah.
Woodies, they're called.
What are
So
they called?
what it,
Woodies?
Woody.
I've seen
Yeah.
those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
what are the leaves? Sorry, I'm missing missing it here. You did Photoshop. You printed it on washi paper, and that
Yeah.
was just a very muted background, right?
No, it was the
Oh.
whole thing.
It was
Oh, it
the
was the whole thing.
photograph
Oh, okay. All right.
with
Good,
the
good. Okay.
shadow.
Oh, I got you. And the leaf as well.
Yeah.
Yes.
So there's a
Yes,
leaf
okay.
here, there's a leaf
Yeah.
there,
Okay.
some
right.
little bits here and there,
Yeah. I just
but
wanted
all
to.
enhanced by,
Yes, beautiful. Beautiful.
because if I go in
Mhm.
really close, you can see there's drawing on
Yeah,
the
the
leaf
drawing on the leaves and yeah, it's
and
beautiful,
on the
Bev.
little bits and along the edges, beautiful nervous
Right.
line. Texture from the wax,
Hmm.
you can see.
It's beautiful.
Beautiful. And also you get that lovely depth, right? Because you have the image underneath the wax,
Yeah,
and then you have the
absolutely.
drawing asserted over
Sort of
top of the
translucent.
wax.
Yeah. Mhm.
Mhm.
There's some lovely texture from the wax.
And the washi went through your printer, obviously, with no problem.
Yeah, I just tape it at the top.
To a regular piece of paper.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Yes. Mhm.
Oh,
Yeah.
And even though it's not a flat one, it still goes through. Okay.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah. That's generally the way to do it when you have something delicate. You know, I've run fabric through the printer that way, and with fabric you have to be careful about fraying because you don't want the works gummed up with so tape the edges to stop any thread from getting caught in the works.
So you have to tape the whole thing then.
It's a good idea.
Mhm.
Yeah. So I mean, it's a beauty. There's a tremendous sense of light from here, even though you say the photograph's not doing the electricity of it justice. I have a tremendous sense of how luminous
Mhm.
the yellow, green, and the reds and oranges are here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the color is actually a little bit brighter.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Nice.
that's
Thank
a
you.
beautiful. How big is this?
It's small. It's 8 by 10.
Well, I hope you're going to submit this to something.
Well, I was trying to, but the photograph doesn't do it justice, so I couldn't get the photograph to work for me
Get
in
someone to
time.
photograph it for you.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm currently, there's a bunch of old work that you may know someone who can do it for you, but if you want, he at Art Printing Studio also documents work for artists. He has a special he calls it scanning, it's not a scanner in the ordinary sense. It's a camera-based system, but it works very well for that. And you can specifically address that aspect of it, that you feel like that part's suffering from your efforts to take a photograph. You want the strength of it
Mhm.
to come across.
Maybe this is a time when a raw photo would give you more opportunity to bring out those
Adjust
colors.
things properly. Yeah.
Yeah.
That is the other good point, Barb. That
Mm.
is another thing.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
So art print, is that the one in Oakville?
On Lakeshore,
On
just at
Lakeshore.
the Furt of Kerr
Okay.
on the south side. He's parking right in front. And no, he doesn't pay me for this. I just honestly, I've
He's
been
got-
getting a bunch of work documented there myself because he gives an artist discount for that, for the art scanning.
Okay.
To tell him you're the artist, and he'll know because you're going to talk to him about the work and say, I've been having problems with this.
Okay,
Right?
great.
So yeah, sometimes it's worth uh sometimes it's worth investing in a proper shot, you know, because of
Yeah.
a professional shot, because it's a difficult artwork to photograph, or it's an especially meaningful one. Or the reason I'm getting my old work done is because at the time that I made the old work, I didn't have as good a camera and I wasn't as good a photographer. And
Mm.
I'm just too tired and busy to photograph it myself. It's not that I have the money to do it, but I have to get it documented and I can't spread myself in every conceivable direction.
Right.
So
Yeah, there's only so much we can do, right?
seriously, you know, you do the best you can. If that's not what you need, then you find someone who can. Yeah.
Yeah.
So beautiful work, Bev.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you.
And I love the
Lovely.
thinking. I love the starting with a print of a photograph and then layering on the other media, because, you know, this is one of my hopes for this work that we do together, is that it can be realized in so many different ways.
Mhm.
Ultimately.
Yes.
Take
Yeah.
this spotlight off. There we go. There we go.
Oh,
I
that
can
was
see
great. Thank you,
properly.
Kim.
I have
Thank you. Yeah.
one thing for is there anybody besides Kim and I using jelly pads, jelly plates?
I use them too.
I haven't.
Well, I watched a video and I'm going to try it, but you can use the Posca pens to color whatever you printed on the jelly pad, let it dry, color it in with the Posca pens, use a take-up layer, and it'll come off in color.
Oh yeah, I use Posca pens on gel plate.
Do
Yeah.
you?
Yeah.
How do you spell
Okay.
that? I'm not familiar with them.
Posca, and they are an
Yeah.
acrylic paint pen that works on clay and glass and
They're very expensive, but I got this $25 off at Michael's. They had them on
That's the
sale.
place to go.
Is it?
Yeah.
And it
Okay.
was
Yeah.
on
Yeah,
sale.
you can get the coupons and save some money.
True,
Oh.
but these were less expensive on sale than they were just using the coupon.
yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
good.
I look
Yeah.
at the flyer online and occasionally, and I had just done
Oh,
that. and I
another big
thought,
one too.
For key colors, it can be useful to get a set that has many, many sizes.
Yes,
So this one it has a brush version. That's that one. It has so the sets like Mark has, you sort of have to decide, do I want a mid-size bullet tip? Do I want a finer line? You know, and that'll depend on your particular
Yeah.
preferences. But sometimes with a key color, it's great to have variety. So I got this in white. So there's a nice fat one. Fabulous for jelly printing. And I recommend banging the cap on the table.
okay.
Sometimes your hand strength isn't what you think it is. And you don't want these drying out on you. These are good pens, right?
Now, you bought all the caps separately,
Well, the
or
cat,
all those different,
No, it was in a set. It was a
It's
set.
in
it's a set. It's a set. That's why it has a package that shows all the different,
okay,
right? It's in
yeah,
a package for the, so you can get a set in, like I'm going to get a black set too. So this is a really tiny one, pointy one. But they have one that's like a technical pen, which I see is not in my set right now. And they have everything in between. So where's the brush one? Here's the brush, which is flexible and brush-like. There's a sort of fatter bullet.
Mm.
And I think this might be the finer bullet. Yeah, there's the finer bullet.
yeah.
Just two more. There's a really fat bullet.
Mhm.
Look how it's sort of fun. It's short and stout. And then this is the first chisel level. So there's the jumbo chisel and the regular chisel.
But those are all white, right?
Yeah, I bought a white set
White
of
set.
all the different sizes, and I will buy a black set because those are key for me, like
Yeah.
being able to
Yeah.
work the white and black in whatever. And then I have a set of a range of colors that I can use for other things. But you know, if I'm doing mixed media, I could probably even get away with just the white if I have other drawing tools in this with the various sizes.
Yeah.
But
I like
ideally, I'd have black and white.
Yes.
Yeah, they're great, Mark. Thanks for bringing them up because, you know, gel plate, yes. Fabric, you can do them
Yes.
directly onto fabric and then heat set them after they've dried. And they will last for some time. Yeah, I think you could use them on leather. I haven't tried it, but I think you could. So
Wow.
yeah, do a tote bag. I mean, there's
Yeah,
some fun, right?
That's what I'm working on for one of my little craft show
Oh,
sales.
excellent.
Painting.
Yeah.
I've got some bags, and when
Yeah.
my grandson's girlfriend, they were here a weekend, and we experimented with one of the bags.
Great.
And
And you can either heat set it or you can tell them to heat set it if they want it to last
yeah,
for
yeah.
washing and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the bag was thin, so we put the stiffening stuff on
Interfacing on the back.
side, front and back.
Yeah.
But I was thinking as I fell asleep last night, I think I'd now take some stitching and go around it just to hold the facing in forever.
It's good to have a mechanical.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So I'll put it on a machine and stitch around it.
Yeah. I'm going to be sewing too if I can get to it because
Oh God.
I'm going to be, because, you know, there aren't enough media in this show.
No, no.
I have this installation that involves shirts. I'll just say this briefly. And one of the shirts, I've bought rolls and rolls of gauze bandages. And I'm going to make a shirt out of gauze bandages.
Have fun.
Wow.
It's not going to be a fancy shirt, but it will reference a shirt. You'll recognize that it's to do with a shirt. Yeah. And it will be with other shirts. So yeah. Kim and her bright ideas.
All right. My friend who's now deceased made a absolutely fabulous smoking jacket out of cancer x-rays.
Wow.
You know, three-dimensional
Yeah.
jacket.
Yeah.
But they all she got the cancer x-rays from her doctor or somebody. And
Did
that's
she have the cancer?
No, she had
Okay.
something else. I forget
Okay.
what. A pulmonary something.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Wow.
But I was
Interesting.
always fascinated by that. And she made a three-dimensional, beautiful red dress out of those metal scrubbies,
Oh yeah.
that used to have. And then she put it in a refrigerator and called it something menopause.
Ah,
She was awesome. She was awesome. I didn't know her very long. She dropped dead
Oh,
very suddenly. And
oh,
oh my goodness, what she
yeah.
could do.
Great
Yeah.
imagination.
Very, very. But
Yeah.
this is how we improve our stuff, by talking with each other and bouncing ideas, and that leads to another and another and another.
It's so important. That's why community is so important for so many ways. And
Mhm.
Yeah.
artistic community is absolutely important for
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
your artistic self, right? Yeah. So I'm so glad to have you guys.
We love it.
feelings
It's
mutual.
definitely, yeah.
So 2 weeks from
2
today,
weeks.
And
Yeah.
is it
$2:30.
$25?
Yes, it is. And then we'll take a bit longer break,
Oh yeah.
more
We've
like a
got a
month
show.
maybe, while I get my show finished and
Yeah,
up
for sure. Mhm.
and all of that. And just, yeah. If you're getting concerned, you haven't heard from me, feel free to send me an email, since it's about teaching. Email is preferred, and just say, were you thinking about a class?
No, I won't bother
Just
you till
wondering.
I won't bother you till you let us know.
No,
Wow.
thank you. And
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to your show, and the fact that we can get to it on the GO train
That helps,
is
doesn't it?
fabulous.
Yeah.
I plan to come and see it.
Oh,
for
I'm
Yeah,
sure.
so
I would
glad.
go on the
Mhm.
boat
We
train.
could make a posse, and
We could, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll invade you.
yeah.
And the GO train is we took it down to the X, and I can get on and off with the walker and the handicap car.
Excellent.
Yes, good.
Perfect.
Excellent.
Oh, Helen,
Sorry, Helen, you're muted.
you're muted, Helen.
Yeah. We want to hear you.
We'll have to find out which line goes all the way out there, because different lines go different places.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's true
Yeah.
that they
That's
do.
right.
So I don't know if
It's
We'll
easy to
find
find
out.
out.
yeah.
It's easy to
Just
find
look
out.
up the schedule, yeah.
Or you
Do the
might have to go to
research.
Union and out. So
Yeah,
I
you
just
might
wanted
have
to
to.
mention too that I'll send you all the invite to
Please.
our show. And
Yes.
I wanted, seeing as we were talking about Procreate, all my images are all figurative. They were drawn in Procreate. And when I've brought a photo in, and then I've worked them up, and then they've all been printed on metal.
Oh,
Oh,
Aluminum.
nice.
Yeah, they're interesting. I've got 5 pieces.
Well, see, that's
Oh,
a
excellent.
research
You gotta
trip
come.
too. Look at
Yeah.
that.
There you are.
Holy moly.
Yeah.
Well,
Anyway.
good for you for printing onto metal.
Yeah, it worked
Yeah.
well, really well.
Did you do it at that place?
Yeah.
Did you do it at Poster Jack?
Yeah. Yeah.
Wonderful.
So you took
I
your
learned what colors and values work best,
Yeah,
how they print up and that kind of thing. Yeah, it's fun.
Excellent.
it is. It is.
Mhm.
I've got new work on aluminum in the show
Oh.
too.
Nice. Yeah.
Aluminum and wood. So yeah,
Mm.
lots of congratulations on the show.
Yeah.
And I love seeing Anne, are you in it too? Not this time. Yeah.
Not this time around. The year was just
Yeah. You had a lot to
just-
deal with this year.
discombobulating. So.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. But next year,
Oh, yeah.
powered by your new laptop.
Mhm.
Watch out, everybody.
Yeah.
and then you'll have to come see our print show in October.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Mhm.
Some of that
Yeah,
is
the
combination of
the
printing and
opening or the thing is the weekend after yours, actually.
Oh, okay. The 21st.
21st.
Mhm. Nice.
Well,
Sure.
enjoy the rest of what's really summer.
It is, it's lovely.
If after the Labor Day weekend, it's like the planet knows it's
I
fall.
know.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It's funny how that
Makes me
happens.
sad. I know.
Yeah, yeah. I haven't
Well,
seen
even-
any summer.
even the
No.
winds change on the lake.
Yeah,
lakes
for sure.
early
exactly.
October.
Time. And
Yeah.
take care, everybody.
Yes,
Yes,
okay.
We'll
yes.
see you in 2 weeks.
Great.
Yes.
Yeah, thanks, Kim.
Okay.
Excellent.
Thanks,
Thank
Kim.
you. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye
Bye
now.
all.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.